Hello everyone and good morning. This is Group Three's presentation on utilizing personal strengths and the effect it has on the overall level of happiness of college students. I'm going to begin this presentation by providing some important information and the overall purpose of this experiment. A struggle that many college students unfortunately face is an increased or above average level of stress. Harvard Medical School reported that 3 out of 4 students have experienced at least one stressful life event between the years of 2017 and 2018. According to Summit Health, stress can be a healthy part of life as it allows people to overcome challenges and it increases their motivation to achieve goals. However, stress can become an issue if it begins to negatively affect a person's day-to-day life, such as lack of motivation, loss of appetite, sleep, and other ways as well. Some effects of increased stress that can be seen in college students begin to interfere with studying, class attendance, cognitive processes such as attention and concentration, and even lead to major health issues such as heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, depression, and anxiety. The American Heart Association reported that 80% of visits to primary care doctors come from problems associated with unmanaged stress. With all these different factors building up and with stress increasing, it often becomes unbearable for college students to focus on their own happiness. The purpose of this experiment was very important because it allows us to explore and analyze a method that will potentially increase the happiness level of college students in an attempt to reduce their overall stress levels by utilizing the suspected correlation between happiness and stress.
For our project, we decided to research the question, what effect does utilizing personal strengths have on the overall level of happiness in college students? So before coming to our hypothesis, we did a bunch of research comparing overall happiness to stress, such as the article by Elizabeth Scott that states, to reduce levels of stress, you have to increase an individual's ability to manage that stress in healthy ways, and therefore increasing their resilience towards stress. So activities that can reduce stress include exercise, like going to the gym, going for a run, self-care, such as going to get a smoothie, doing skincare. Self-care can kind of go into exercise also, as well as focusing on what can be controlled. So basically managing your emotional response to stressful situations. And then the final aspect is having a growth mindset. So the user strengths activity really targets the growth mindset because it allows people to focus on their mindset and focus on things that they can control, like stated, and allows them to really focus on things that they know they can get done and that they know they can get done well, and therefore increases their confidence, their ability to get things done, stuff like that. So after the much research, we came to the hypothesis that after completing the user strength activity from the Greater Good in Action website, the majority of students participating would show an increase of overall happiness as long as they used the activity for 7 days, because if you don't use it for 7 days, you may not get the effects. If you use it for a shorter amount of time, it really won't set in what you're trying to do.
For the experimental design/method section, we used the user strength exercise as a means to test the overall happiness of college students. Then, the participants were asked to fill out an anonymous survey and was utilized to gather the information that could be analyzed and evaluated in order to respond to our testable hypothesis. The experiment was also carried out over a period of 7 days and contained a population of 60 people or college students. Participants were then expected to fill out the subjective happiness scale before and after performing the user strength exercise, rating their happiness on a scale of 1 to 7. Then, these participants were also asked in the same survey to include personal data such as their age, gender, and college major, and their first and second subjective happiness score both prior and after performing the user strength exercise. They were also asked to answer two yes or no questions. Questions such as, did you like this activity? And would you perform this activity again? Finally, there was an additional optional comment section for collecting anecdotal observations.
To the right, you can see the bar chart comparing the average happiness score of the first and second subjective happiness scale screening for each discipline. On average, the students studying arts and science, business, education, engineering, and public health experienced an overall increase in happiness based on their subjective happiness scale score. The largest increase in happiness scores on average can be found within the arts and science, engineering, and public health disciplines. Students studying behavior and community science show a decrease in their overall happiness score on average, and students studying nursing experience no net change in their overall happiness score. To the right, you can see the table comparing the percent of students in each discipline that exhibit an increase in their happiness score by at least 1 point. 100% of public health students showed an increase in their happiness score. 0% behavioral and community science students showed an increase in their happiness score. Only 44% and 33% of students within business and nursing respectively exhibit an increase in their happiness score. 68% of students, regardless of discipline, exhibited an increase in their happiness score. The majority, greater than 50% of students within arts and science, education, and engineering exhibit an increase in their happiness score. Another set of results that we felt may be useful for analysts were the responses to the two yes or no questions. Did you like this activity and would you perform this activity again? Of the 60 students who participated, 57 of them enjoyed the activity and 48 of them said they would repeat the activity. According to research, people who identified and used their strengths every day for 1 week reported an increase in happiness and a decrease in symptoms of depression immediately after 1 week experiment.
For this research project, we implemented the use your strengths exercise and analyzed how it could improve the overall happiness of college students. The expectation for this experiment was that after students completed the use your strengths activity every day for a period of 7 days, that their subjective happiness score would increase by at least 1 point. For the most part, we would say that our hypothesis was confirmed and that we were able to determine that the use your strengths exercise was effective in producing a rise in the overall happiness of college students, because the majority of students that participated in the activity, which was 68%, did experience an increase. Although our hypothesis was supported, we do notice that improvements could have been made. Firstly, since there were anomalous results or results that deviated from our expectations, it is important for us to know why. So since 32% of students either had no overall change in their level of happiness or their level of happiness decreased over the end of the week, we believe a good addition to our experiment would be to include a section on the survey that asked, if your second happiness screening score was lower than your first, what do you believe contributed to this? Another observation that we were able to make was that there was a wide variety of results from discipline to discipline. This may either be due to the fact that we did not have a standardized number of students for each discipline. So the results were very variable because the sample sizes of each discipline were not big enough. On the other hand, this may be because the results were accurate in the sense that the stress levels of college students may vary depending on a student's discipline. In order to explore this more, this experiment could be repeated with 10 students from each discipline in order to standardize the results and so differences between initial and final happiness scores can be compared across disciplines. A final improvement that we thought would be useful to decrease the number of anomalous results was to increase the duration of the activity, for example, from 7 days to 14 days. This would give the participants more time to get settled into the routine and hopefully more time to reap the positive effects of the activity. And in turn, hopefully a greater percentage of students will experience an increase in their happiness score. To conclude, we were able to prove our hypothesis was true based on our results. However, the experiment should be repeated to include the improvements that were previously mentioned so that more sufficient and more reliable data can be collected in the case that further studies need to be conducted. The results of this experiment are useful in the sense that it shows that this activity is a valuable resource in increasing happiness levels and therefore decreasing high levels of stress in college students. On behalf of all of the project members, we just wanted to say thank you for listening, and here are the references that we used throughout the presentation in case you would like to do further research.